Hello, Tyler.
Hey Annie, thanks for having me again.
What are we going to talk about today?
Well, I have been having some mixed feelings about all of my do it yourself projects. I think that would be a fun topic.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. We are in the year of the snake. Spring is around the corner. There are a lot of work to do around the house.
Indeed, and I have a new house. There is so much I want to make look more pretty inside the house, and so much I want to upgrade inside the house, and the cost of labor is so expensive here.
Before I came to the United States, people say American houses are big and nice. But when I moved here, started my first house and second and third and then fourth, I realized that there's a lot of liabilities as well. You have to learn to do a lot of things on your own, and we were not used to it. We grew up in, like me, I grew up in Beijing, so our main task growing up was to study. So whatever that work need to be done, we have service people that we just hire them. So I don't need to learn how to mow the lawn or how to cut the trees or how to change filters, stuff like that. So everything's done and it's very affordable. But here I realized that you have to do everything on your own.
There is an incredible amount of responsibility with home owning. And I actually started mowing the lawn when I was in elementary school, around
Wow.
first grade.
Wow, first grade is like 6 or 7.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I have some funny stories from childhood. One was when I was probably in kindergarten, my mom wanted me to come out and rake the leaves. And I was just looking around the yard and I had this bratty childhood attitude. And I just said, it's not my fault, it's fall. It's not my fault, the stupid leaves are falling on the ground. Why do I have to do that?
So it's legal, yeah, I guess.
Child labor.
In America, yeah. So your parents ask you to do it, you cannot report to the police. Okay, they make me do these things.
Yeah, when it's family, there's no child labor laws when it comes to family.
Yeah, it's like your responsibilities. But your mom expect you to assume your responsibilities at that age, 6 or 7, or even like before that.
Yes, it shaped who I am, I think. I ended up being a very hands-on person in college, even though I had the classroom skills. I had that preference for hands-on, and I still have that preference for hands-on, for creating things, making things. I think it's become part of who I am.
Oh, that's great. You are a owning child, and in Chinese culture, the owning child, they're considered the little emperors and empresses. So they can get anything they want. They have their mom and dad, their four grandparents. Sometimes the houses also have helpers. So they just open their mouths. I want this, I want that. Things will get done.
We do have that stereotype here as far as receiving what they want and gifts, but there's also that sense of responsibility. I think if you're an only child, that also means you're the only one to to take all the responsibility, and you can't bully your siblings into doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Think about that. Your family, your household has less labors than other people, other families. Like, I have 3 kids. Unfortunately, they are not my laborers. They just make me work harder to serve them.
So there is that aspect where you have that shared responsibility in the family of taking care of the house. Also, people in my family were known for being handy. My stepdad, my dad, my uncles, all known for being handy, and I learned a lot from them from a young age. Starting with basics like how to mow the lawn. It's very simple for a kid to understand, but also my dad took me to one of his jobs and he taught me how to paint a wall. I have no idea how young I was. I think I was probably 6. It seems like a very early memory.
So when the Chinese immigrants, we mainly came to the United States because we were here to pursue higher education. So when we came, we find, oh, these Americans, they're so handy. I'm very envious. I remember I have a neighbor. He's Chinese, right?
Yeah.
He has a PhD from Stanford. His wife made him fix the fence. So he complained to me. He said, oh, I got a PhD from Stanford and I don't know how to do these things. I'm not supposed to do these things. But because they're so expensive to hire someone, so she asked me to do this, but I don't know where to start. And then that's very like a Chinese mentality. You know, in China, if you have like a very good education, normally you'll have very high status and you don't expect to do these things. But here, you know, I think as long as you are middle class, even upper middle class, you have to do DIY because the cost is just in no comparison what the cost of labor in China.
I feel the same way. Sometimes I feel like I would rather have people do all the work for me, but the cost can affect that decision a lot. Some things will be cheap, maybe $50, $100, but let's say you order some furniture online. And they pack it into this small box, so it's in so many different pieces. Sometimes the labor for assembling or installing something that you buy can be higher than the cost of purchasing it.
Yes. Tell me how much would it cost to cut trees?
Oh, hundreds of dollars, 600 around there, just to trim the trees, maybe higher.
Yes. So I also realized that because our houses in China are mainly made of concrete, here it's made of sheetrock and wood. There are a lot of things you have to take a responsibility. The maintenance, you have to constantly repair things.
Yes. Yes, there is that huge sense of ownership. The house deteriorates. You have these HOAs, homeowner associations, that make you maintain your house in a certain way, and a lot of times you end up doing that yourself in America.
What if you don't comply?
You'll end up getting fees and then late fees for still not doing it if you still don't do it on time. Sometimes that becomes a problem where people will have a house that they've owned for years. It'll become like a foreclosure or something, and then you'll find out they have all of these fees with the homeowners association because they neglect their bills, they neglect their responsibilities. You can't get away with it. You cannot get away with neglecting the home responsibilities.
Yes, so actually you have to respond to their request. If you don't, they can also send you a letter from the lawyers. You'll be like responsible for this and that, and if you continue not to do it, they'll just add up the bill.
Yes.
And eventually you lose your house that way.
Because you can't afford the bill.
Yeah.
For the fines. The city will also do things like that. Different cities will have laws about length of weeds that can grow in a field, and you can get fines from the city. You can get warnings from the city. If you look at houses that have been neglected, they're up for sale, you'll see some signs on the front doors, like safety warnings from the city Department of Health. So there's a lot of regulation that goes into enforcing the responsibility for homeowners.
So my observation is that many Americans are very handy. I'm just curious, where do they learn these skills from?
So there's two main ways that I think that people learn. One is passing down from parent or friend. My grandpa, for example, he was retired and he wanted to add gravel to his driveway. And instead of paying somebody to do it, he did it himself, and he paid me to help him. The other part of the story is trial and error. You make mistakes and then you realize how you need to do it differently next time. So I was shoveling gravel with my grandpa and just piling it into my truck. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just piled it into the center, the back of my pickup truck. And then I hauled off to the dump to get rid of all this gravel in the truck. On the way to the dump, there's a dirt road that goes to the landfill where I just drop it all off. And I hit some bumps on the way there. And that big pile of gravel in the middle of the bed of the truck, it broke the rear axle of my truck on one of the bumps. And the tire popped off of the vehicle. And I saw the tire bouncing behind me as I kept going slowly. The back of the truck dragged against the ground. And I didn't know. I didn't know how to spread gravel out to balance the weight in the back of the truck. I was just thinking about getting paid. You know, grandpa's going to pay me to do this work, so I'm just going to shovel it in the back of the truck. And then you realize you have to think about these things. You have to think about the consequences before they happen, and you have to start thinking ahead. You can't avoid all mistakes, but you can take some extra time to read the instructions, watch some YouTube videos, make sure that you know what you're doing before you get started. And I think that helps a lot, doing some research, treating it like a learning experience. It can be rewarding. You know, when you're done and you save that money, you think of how much money you saved, you look at the results of how beautiful your new driveway looks or your new chandelier looks, and you have that pride. I did that with my own hands as well.
Yes. Nowadays, we have something to save us. It's called YouTube.
Yes, exactly. So you can learn from other people's mistakes. I remember when I was doing the wallpaper here, I watched 3, 4, 5 videos before I started because you get different tips from everybody. And then when I did it myself, I started coming up with my own ideas as well that nobody taught me. So that trial and error really helps in the learning experience, and you come up with your own technique as you go. Sometimes you learn as you go.
Do you think men tend to be more handy than women, or do American women have some very handy aspect of?
I think there's the stereotypes that the guys are handy. I think women are capable, but I think it's also fair for the men to shoulder that responsibility. You know, just part of their doing their responsibility around the house.
I get it, but just in my mind, I always compare China versus here. I'm just wondering if American women growing up tend to be more handy. You know, we probably will learn to cook, but, you know, to repair a house, I see a lot of women here can do that as well. They know how to paint.
What I would be more cautious of and think that the women should stay away from is anything that could hurt them, you know. Anything heavy, anything where you have to reach into awkward spaces. Don't want their delicate body to get hurt.
Yes, the labor of cost, I think, is the number one reason that people have to learn to do the handy things on their own. But at the same time, they seem to take pride in how handy they are. Would you say that's part of the culture as well?
I think for office workers, they have this expectation that they'll go home and they don't have to worry about those things. And I think there's pressure from their wives to get it done. I think that's a thing. I think it's hard to make a 100% conclusion about who likes to do what. I think it's cross board, up to preference, personal preference. Some people like it, some people don't.
I think DIY culture is more respected here in America. In China, people really don't feel ashamed if they don't do anything. They just study or they just focus on what they're good at. You know, they don't know anything like the Stanford PhD. I mean, it'll be fine. But here, like, he has that pressure and everybody is so handy.
I do see that. I see that it's a masculine activity. You know, think about guys talking about their manly activities. One could be going to the gym and bench pressing a bunch of weight, and then the other could be just fixing something at home or doing something at home. So it's bragging points, really. It's something that men could brag about among each other or talk about or joke about. It's definitely a bonding common topic for men.
Women like handyman. If you don't know how to fix the fence, your wife asks you to do that, she might get disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because that money is precious, and maybe you want to spend that money on each other, you know, and not on the home maintenance.
Chinese immigrant families, they often talk about, oh, look at those Americans. How come they're so handy? So they say, oh, you have to learn to do this. They'll tell their husband. These husband, they come to the United States maybe in their early 20s. Before, the time they spent was to study. To study so they can get a PhD, so they can get a good job. And now they're having this house. They don't know where to start and never had that experience before.
So you're right. It's not just the pressure coming from the wives to the husbands. It's also pressure coming from the neighbors. And I remember one time I was just eccentrically cleaning the driveway because I thought it was dirty. I want to look at that dirty driveway. And I brought out a pressure washer and I was just getting every square inch of the driveway clean. I remember there was a man and wife going on a walk across the street, and the woman looked at her husband like, "Are you going to do that for me?" Right? And I could hear it. I could hear the guy like, "Bullshit," from across the street. Like, bullshit. I can't believe I'm getting trapped into this,
Yes, yeah. The other husbands can do these things. So should you. That's the wife's mentality. I think a lot of people want to own a house. Owning a house in America is the dream of a lot of Chinese immigrants. But, when they have the house, they realize how much responsibilities they have to take. And it's like a lifestyle change from the life in China to life here. You have to adjust, and then you have to enjoy it because labor is just too costly here.
It is. And not only is it costly, but if you don't shop around, there's a good chance that you're just going to pay somebody hundreds of extra dollars for a job that is way overpriced. Not just overpriced because it's expensive in the first place, but they'll take advantage of you by just charging too much.
Exactly. So when I just find out like the same thing, some people say 300, some people say 600. So there's no standard. They can just come up with any number. So there's no industry standard. Sometimes when there's plumbing issue or some issue that's so urgent, you don't get a lot of time to shop around. So you end up paying a lot.
Yeah, you might spend hundreds or $1,000 for something that really doesn't take a lot of time.
Yes. From this perspective, even I don't know how to do these things, I need to learn how these things work so they cannot fool me. You went to China, so how would you imagine if you live in China, what are the pros and cons?
Oh, I would never mow the lawn again. Never mow the lawn. I just remember how cheap it was for services like getting a ride or getting a delivery. And it was amazing. I think the lifestyle there when you have money is just so convenient.
Yes. Yeah, I miss that part. Here, apart from your work, you actually always have a side job. That's, to take care of your house.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.